Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tackle Corner, and today I'm going to talk about the combos that you need for bass fishing. So that's going to be 3 combos in specific that I think are the most important for starting out bass fishing or just bass fishing in general, and you want to change up what you have. And then I'm going to talk about every combo I have that I use when I'm out on my kayak, specifically while I'm bass fishing. I have other combos and stuff that I use for panfish, walleye, and things like that that are mostly spinning setups. But when it comes to bass fishing, I don't typically use those. So I'm focusing in on those things. So I'm going to start with those 3 I think that you absolutely need if you want to be successful and throw as much tackle as possible. And then I'll get kind of into the weeds of really specific stuff. So right off the bat, this is for anybody. This is entry level. This is the rod that you need. It's less about the reel. Spinning reel, standard 25, 3,000 size, 2,000 size, kind of what you like. That's kind of what you're going for. This is a Ardent C-force spinning reel with a 7-foot medium action rod. It's or medium power fast action rod. That's what you need. That is the first and foremost bread and butter spinning setup for bass fishing. It's a great combo for a lot of different applications. This rod in particular is from Witch Doctor Tackle. It is the Medicine Man rod. It's a custom series rod, but it is my absolute favorite spinning rod that I've owned. But in general, the 7-foot is going to cover all your finesse applications. For this one in particular, I tend to use this one with a very light braided line, but I don't use a leader. And that's because I'm fishing actually moving baits with this typically. And it's a braid that's specifically designed for spinning reels. And so it's a really thin diameter. And like I said, I'm usually fishing some sort of finesse jig that I'm swimming. And I have found that this line, it doesn't make the fish line shy. The second biggest bass I caught last year was on this setup. And if you're not fishing in ultra clear water, it's perfectly acceptable. So that's number 1. Now, if you're still not really into bait casting, the second combo you're going to want to have, get ready for this, a 7-foot medium fast action rod, or extra fast. And now this is going to be what I'm using for worms. I'm going to use this for plastic worms that are in the finesse category. So something like a drop shot, or I'm going to use it for a weedless worm, or I'm going to use it for a wacky rig, those type of things. And then I'm going to have just another spinning reel on. This is a brand new reel from Ardent, the Ignite. It's a 2,000 size, so a little smaller than my other one, but it's the perfect reel and rod combination. I have this on an Apex from Ardent. It was something I got kind of in a deal last year, but it's a nice little rod and reel, another medium power, fast action, and that's going to be great to have for soft plastic applications like drop shots or finesse worms. So that's the second thing you need. And the reason I have that is because I have 2 different lines on those. I'm going to use braided line with a fluorocarbon leader on that one, and the other one I'm just throwing straight braid. And if you're throwing that braid that's designed for spinning reels in particular, you can fish it how you would fish a heavier bait casting setup with straight braid, but with much smaller lures. And that's kind of why I use that. Now, next one up. Now, this is going to get into the bait casting territory, but I think it's something that you absolutely need. And let me make sure I have the right one here. Nope. Get into that in a second. Well, actually, no. This is the one I want. Up next, I have a 7.2 medium heavy, and it's a moderate fast. This is a 50-50 glass and graphite rod. So it's a moderate fast action. You'll probably see a lot of videos on YouTube and a lot of people saying that the one rod and reel combo you should have for bait casting is a medium heavy rod that's fast action. And while I don't disagree with those people, I think a lot of the baits that people like to throw that are popular are best thrown on a moderate fast action. So that's going to include things like a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, certain types of crankbaits, swim jigs, lots of different styles of moving baits, and most people are just getting into bass fishing. A lot of those baits that are great to throw on this. I have a 7 gear ratio reel. This is the Ardent Vertex, their brand new reel, and I have it on a Surman 50G Witch Doctor rod. Now this kind of style, I'm throwing this maybe 50% of the time when I'm out in the water, because it covers 3 of my favorite baits. This style of rod, not necessarily this exact reel, because I have a couple different reels I put on this style of rod. I actually have probably 4 rods that are in this vein, and I'm throwing different baits on them. So those are the 3 rods. I think you can get away with throwing almost everything you'd want to, except for flipping and pitching jigs and stuff like that. But I don't use a lot of those. So that's why I'm saying those are my, like if I'm telling 3 to people, I know most people that are just getting into bass fishing, starting off by throwing a flipping jig might not be the most efficient way if you're just getting started out. But now I'm moving away from that. I'm gonna talk about every combo I have for bass fishing. And this is gonna get a lot more specific and technique specific. So those 3 are my kind of ones I recommend for people if you're getting into bass fishing. But let me get into the ones that are for all the stuff that I use. So I'll start with my favorite. This is my favorite combo that I have. I throw this all the time, and this is a very specialized rod. This is a 7'4" glass rod, and it's actually a heavy power. It is a moderate fast action, and I have this with a 7 gear ratio reel, and I'm throwing spinner baits on this. Now, because it's a glass rod, it's not going to behave the same as a lot of the graphite rods out there. I've found I caught and pinned more fish with this rod than any other last year. It's a really cool combo, and I really enjoy it. It's also good for chatterbaits and bladed jig styles, but I really like it for my spinnerbait setup. And I got this on my boat all year. It's a great combo. I made a video last year where I talked about the combos I was planning to use, and I had predicted that would be my favorite combo, and it was my favorite combo. So just kind of a funny thing. Next up, this is another rod that is one where now if a lot of people were talking about a rod you need to have, this would probably be the one they tell you. It's a 7.2 medium heavy fast action rod. And then I have another 7 gear ratio Vertex Contender on here. This is what I have for football jigs. One thing I want to get better at is jig fishing this year, so I have that one dedicated to that. If I want, I could also make this eventually something I would throw some other moving baits where I maybe want a faster action for something like a buzz bait or a topwater plopping style bait. I might try that this year, but for now it's going to be my jig rod, and I'll probably keep it that way. Maybe in the summer I'm going to try to throw some Texas rig type stuff, and I'll probably end up doing it on this rod reel. After that, I have another setup specifically for jig fishing, but this one is going to be for a Ned jig. So that's probably a football style head with a Ned bait on the end of it, a stick style bait. I have an Apex Grand reel, and then I have a Voodoo rod from Witch Doctor, and this is another 7 foot medium heavy fast action. The previous one was a Voodoo 2, but very similar rods, those two. It's just a little lighter than my other one. It's a little shorter. It's going to be a lighter jig. And then after that, I have another spinnerbait combo or chatterbait, any kind of moving bladed bait or spinnerbait. I'm going to throw in this 7.2 medium heavy, moderate fast. This is an Apex rod from Ardent, and I have an Apex Grand on it. I caught plenty of fish on this combo last year too. Funny enough, it's a spinnerbait rod from them, but I ended up throwing a bladed jig on it most of the time for whatever reason, but it's a similar bite. It's a similar hook set. It makes plenty of sense. After that, I have now this is a different way I have this rigged up. I'm curious to see how it performs. It's something I kind of got away from last year after I had a lot of success on it a year before that. But this could be my swim jig setup. I have this on an Ardent Summit Falcon. It's an 8 gear ratio reel, a little faster. And I have it on a Surman 50G. It's a 610 rod. I'm imagining I'm going to be using some like heavier underspins, but mostly swim jigs. This could be my swim jig combo. I'm probably going to end up throwing a lot of the first gen swim jigs on this that have the little top spin blade. That's what I'm planning to use mainly with this setup. Last year I used this rod for a lot of different things. It was kind of my like, I don't know what to throw it with. I had probably 8 different baits I throw on it throughout the year. It kind of can handle everything. And it's a great kayak rod because it's a little shorter. That's why I like it. Next up, we've got a brand new rod. This is the one I'm very excited to use. This is the Pandemic from Witch Doctor. It's a medium heavy, moderate fast. It's 7-1, and I have an Apex Elite 6-gear ratio reel, and this is going to be my lipless setup. This is what I found out last year. My best day I had throwing a lipless crankbait was when I was using a medium heavy rod, and that really kind of opened my eyes to how I wanted to throw a lipless. And so this is going to be my go-to lipless and maybe a few other crankbait style baits, but I plan to use this quite a bit next year. Well, not next year, this year. So I'm excited for that. Speaking of crankbaits, this combo is one of my oldest ones that I still use. And when I say oldest, I've only been using it for 2 seasons, but most of my combos haven't lasted this long. This will be the 3rd year on this combo because I've changed up rods last year with Witch Doctor. But this is still one of my old Ardent rods. It's a topwater rod. It's very whippy. It's a medium power, fast action, or moderate fast, really, more likely. And this is going to be my crankbait setup. I traditionally use this for lipless, caught a lot of fish on it, but I'm going to use this for some flat-sided crankbaits, square bills, stuff of that nature. I'm going to try it out on that 6-gear ratio reel Apex Elite. After that, I have, now this is a setup I'm really interested. It's a rod I basically didn't use last year. It's a heavy action Voodoo. It is a 7-1, 7-2, and I have an Apex Grand on here. This is actually going to be my frog rod later on in the year, but early on, this is what I'm going to be using for big swim baits. I'm going to try out the soft plastic swim baits I bought, the big ones, like the Berkeley Coal Shad. I'm going to see how that goes with that. I'm excited to try it out. But those are all the rod and reel combos that I'm going to be using this year. Now, something that else I might end up throwing later on in the summer, I'll probably have a buzzbait set up. I haven't quite determined what I'm going to do with that, or a Chapo style bait, whopper popper. And I have a couple reels and I have a couple old rods. I might give that a shot. I just haven't put a lot of time into those things because a lot of times midsummer I'm not out there a ton, which is when the topwater bite is on. But those are all the combos that I use or plan to use. If I had to make predictions, my Kahuna Rod, my Pandemic Rod, and then my one spinning combo, I'm probably expecting I'm going to be using those most of the time. When I go on the water, I usually take 6. But I have all of these, and some of them will shine during different parts of the year. Early on in the year, I'm probably going to have the 2 crankbait setups, the 2 jig setups, I'll have a bladed jig setup, and then probably a spinnerbait. So that's pretty much it for my rod and reel combos. There might be changes as the year goes on. I don't really plan on buying anything else. I'm pretty much set. And like I said, I only take 6 out with me, 7 at most. And as you can see, I have more than that. I don't need anything at the moment. I don't really have any other techniques I'm wanting to try. I think that covers pretty much every base possible. So that's what I have, and I'm excited to get out in the water. It's beginning of February. I really have cabin fever, and I'm hoping soon that I'm able to just get a line in the water and catch a fish. It would be great if I could catch one before March. But I anticipate maiden voyage for the kayak, probably to be that 2nd week of March. I kind of got circled on my calendar. I'm thinking that's really going to be my best shot. It should be in early spring this year. But I think that's going to be when it's the best time. And I'm hoping it'll be then, and I'm hoping by then I've already hit 750 subscribers, and then I can do that giveaway I've mentioned before. Once I hit that, I'll be giving away either a lure package or reel. Haven't quite decided which one I want to do. I might just let the winner decide because I have both things on hand. So thanks for watching, tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate it. Leave a comment for another video idea I could do. I plan on doing tackle corner videos all year. When the season starts, I'm probably going to make them more once a month versus every week. But I've liked keeping up with this format. It's been performing pretty well. As far as my videos go, I've been getting a pretty good engagement with some of the ones I've done. And I appreciate you guys' feedback by voting on the topics. So this was a fun one. I like talking about the rod and reel combos I use. But as you see, all Ardent Reels, they're great. They're versatile. They come in so many kinds of style for every kind of bass fishing application. I use them in Canada walleye fishing. I've caught huge redfish on them. You can use them for anything in North America. It really, there's gear ratios from 5 to 8 for bait casting. They have every size of spinning reel. And if you join Ardent Pro Staff, it's a 3-year warranty on all their reels, which I don't know about you, but that's a pretty great guarantee. I've already had reels I've had to send in. Really not because there's anything wrong with the reel. It's because I used it so much. I actually wore the handle down and I pulled a piece of it off and flew into the lake. And I called them up and said, hey, like I did some kind of like a boneheaded thing. I should have tightened something up and lost the piece. They're like, send it in, we'll fix it up. And it's great to have companies like that. And I have a few of their rods too. I use mostly Witch Doctor. Since I switched to them, I'm pro staff for them. I absolutely love that product. I've talked about before how rods are really one of the most important things in fishing, if not the most. So really fine rods that are quality. And I have 100% confidence, every rod I mentioned, that it's going to do what I want it to do and it's not going to break on me. I've had 0 complaints from any of the rods that I'm using now. And I'm really excited to try the new ones out. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all the feedback you guys give. I never expected to get to this point with my channel from when I started with just a handful of subscribers and where it's at now. And it's just really kind of taken off last month, over 100 subscribers in less than 30 days is just awesome. So thanks for tuning in.